Hello and welcome to Rome. Randy Buehler here with Brian David-Marshall. Day one of the 2009 Magic the Gathering World Championships is in the books, and we got a lot to talk about. I think we start with the standard format. Day one, always the standard day of the World Championships. What are these guys going to do? Coming in, Jund is the deck that had the bullet on its forehead. Would people figure out how to beat Jund? What percentage of the field would be Jund? The results are in. What do we got?
Well, we had about a third of the field playing Jund.
Yeah, 35%.
35%, a pretty staggering number. If you took the over, you did well.
That is historically high as a percentage of the field. I mean, a lot of people practiced and said, I don't really want to play Jund, but I can't beat it. I had to. We saw LSV say that.
Sure.
A lot, 32 of the 34 Japanese players or something?
Sure. We saw Kai Bude, who, as a player notorious for preparation, he decided to play in this Worlds. He said, well, if I'm going to play in Worlds, I'm going to prepare. I'm going to do work. So he does some work on the format, and he's like, how do you beat this deck?
Yeah.
He's like, this is the best deck. I was like, oh, is it like Fires? He's like, no, this is way better than Fires. This is better than any deck I had in Standard when I was playing.
Right. I mean, it's got a great creature set, it's got a great removal set, and the crazy thing is, it's got the best card advantage in the format too. Like normally that medium speed creature deck with a bunch of removal, it's supposed to lose to control. The problem is Cascade is better card advantage than anything the control decks have, so there you go. Now, 35% of the people chose to play it. How did it actually perform?
So we have 7 undefeated decks at the end of 6 rounds. We have 7 players with 18 points, and we have 4 undefeated Jund players in that 7.
There you go.
No other single archetype has multiple copies in the undefeated
So what are the
bracket.
other 3?
The other 3 are, top of the standings, Joel Calafel from Spain playing Jacerator. Jacerator's the latest.
Turbo Fog?
It is a turbo mill deck. It's got like about 8 fog effects. It's got Jace. He co-designed it with Kenny Oberg of Tesserator fame.
There you go.
We did a deck tech on it. The deck is awesome. It was a perfect deck for this weekend because it does well against the Jund decks, but it especially does well against the decks that prey on Jund decks. People came in bringing green-white decks, token decks, creature decks. He's like, this is going to be awesome. Nobody's going to be able to stop me. I'm just going to sweep the tables. And that's what he did. He ran the tables.
Yeah, nice. I saw him he got paired against Martin Yuza in the last round. Yuza had 5-0'd with his take on green-white, looking to 6-0 and really make a run at Player of the Year, but ran into the Turbo Fog, not the matchup Martin wanted.
Yeah, Martin had Ascension.
Sure.
Luminarch Ascension online as early as you possibly can get it.
Sure.
And he's just like, end of the turn, make some angels. End of the turn, make some angels. Didn't even matter. So another undefeated deck that is not Jund is Alexei Antonenko of Ukraine with Vampires.
Vampires?
Vampires.
Like Nighthawk, Gatekeeper, Valkyrie,
Nighthawk,
all the good draft hits?
Yep, Mind Sludge.
Wow.
Yep.
Cool.
So that deck did well. And then Boros Bushwhacker, which is a deck that a lot of people were expecting to do very well this weekend behind Jund, in the hands of Bram Snapfangers.
Wow.
Old school Netherlands player.
And he needs a result here to stay on the tour. He's been around forever, but threatening to run out of pro points.
Bram Snapfangers does not fall off the tour. He hasn't done this. He hasn't done it in 22 years. He's been on the tour longer than there was a tour.
Sounds about right.
The tour started and there, Bram Snapfangers is like, what took you so long?
Sounds about right. Most interesting guy 7-0 for me, though, Tomoharu Saito. Saito really wants to win his second Player of the Year title, and I got to say, Yuya Watanabe started this tournament 1-3. Like, left the door open a crack with that 1-3 start. Yuza 5-0'd, then fell to 5-1. Saito with the 5-0, got there at 6-0. Those guys can really make a run if Watanabe doesn't put up some points.
And, sitting at the top of the team standings is Paulo Vitor Damarosa and the Brazilian team, who are looking to, really take advantage of that stumble by the Japanese squad.
Yeah, now, after 2 rounds, so they played 6 rounds of Standard today and then 2 team rounds. The Brazilians won both their rounds. They've got fully a 9-point lead on second place, 15 points down to 5th, where top 4 are going to play off on Sunday. So really you just need to be somewhere in the top 4. Japanese team, though, Watanabe starts out 1-3, gets to 3-3. Shuhei also only put up a 3-3, but they won both their team rounds, so they're sitting right in it. They're in third right now.
Yeah, and the third player on that team went 5-1. So he pulled a lot of weight for that team. There was a lot of talk coming into this. Did you really want Kenji in that spot? But this guy really performed admirably and pulled his load 5-1 in the standard portion.
Now those are the standings, but the thing everybody's talking about here, I want to talk about this. The U.S. national team won the team competition last year. They're the defending champions, but they've actually been eliminated from this tournament already. U.S. national champion Charles Gindy was disqualified from the tournament. Now let's talk about this situation because it's kind of a weird thing. He's got Master of the Hunt. He's playing standard. He's got Master of the Hunt, and he kills his opponent's 2-2. He's got a 2-2 wolf and a 3-3 wolf. And so in Gindy's mind, and his opponent doesn't do anything, right? The way Master of the Hunt reads, that person can then deal damage back to one of the wolves. And it's not a may. I mean, it's a mandatory ability. But Gindy's looking at it. He's got a 2-2, he's got a 3-3. It's like, yeah, maybe he split it. Maybe he put 2 on this. It's one of these situations where a lot of people talk like, where's the line where you're obliged to point out to your opponent the thing that your opponent should do that's bad for you? Like, when are you obliged? And Gindy didn't point it out. Like, he knew in his heart. I mean, he totally admitted this to the head judge. It's like, I mean, Gindy's a good guy. He wasn't trying to lie or anything. But, you know, he didn't think he had to point out his opponent's way to kill his own creature. I mean, was that line clear to you?
That line's not very clear to me. I mean, this is certainly something that came up in the wake of Pro Tour Austin. I mean, with the Brian Kibler situation, how do you differentiate between this and what happened with Brian Kibler and the may and must of the desolation of the angel? Yeah,
so I think for most of the people in the room, like where exactly that line is was not clear. I think it's a lot clearer now, quite frankly. Like this precedent is going to be the thing that everybody's like, okay, look, this is serious. According to head judge Sheldon Menery, I mean, I totally believe Sheldon. Like this is textbook case of what the rules define as fraud. Like Gindy intentionally allowed his own card to be misplayed. Like he's obliged to have his opponent make a decision, like where do you want to deal your 2 damage? And not asking that question, he got run from the tournament.
And to be specific, he said afterwards, he told his opponent what was going on. He said, hey, you know, why weren't you doing it this way or why weren't you using this? And he knew what the card was supposed to do and he knew how it was supposed to work very specifically.
And the opponent was like, can I read that card?
And very clearly.
You're obliged to ask me this question.
Which is very different than the Brian Kibler situation.
Right, in the Kibler situation, Kibler thought it was a may. Nobody, you know, there was no intentional misplay of the card there. So different situation. But so there's the line. Like, wanted to know where the line is. I think it's much clearer now. I mean, I feel bad that it happened to Gindy. He's a good guy, and we got our defending champs kicked out of the team competition. But it's actually almost nice, I think, to have that clean precedent set.
And certainly a jolt of caffeine for the rest of the players in this tournament about how they need to approach their operations in a match.
All right, so we will have a new team competition winner. Brazil is looking great, but the Japanese are right in it where people thought they were going to be. Jun remains the deck to beat in standard. But in terms of the individual top 8, we still got 12 rounds left, right? Watanabe wants to get some points to try to close the door, but Saito and, you know, Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa probably has to win the team competition and have Yuya stumble. But Saito and Yuza very much with a good Sunday finish could win it. So we'll be back tomorrow with the draft day. 6 rounds of Zendikar booster draft, and then we'll be 2/3 of the way towards Sunday. A lot going on. We're just getting started. Bunch of interesting storylines so far. Hall of Fame induction ceremonies went down today. And it's just Thursday.
Yeah, it's just Thursday. We have the mocks still to go. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get to do some legacy deck techs tomorrow, looking at some of these team competitors. One of the things we haven't talked about is we have some different formats going on there. One of them is legacy. So it's an exciting weekend.
Keep your browser tuned to MagicTheGathering.com. Brian and I will keep bringing you coverage through the Tournament Center all weekend long.